A millionaire arrived at his country house to rest, but upon opening the door, he found a family living there, a widow with 2 small children who had squatted in the abandoned house. Furious, he threatened to call the police, but what he did in the following minutes changed his life forever. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single story. Robert pulled his car up in front of the country house and frowned. The wooden gate was painted blue. He had never painted that gate. He got out slowly, a hand instinctively on his chest, remembering his doctor's orders. No stress, no exertion. 2 months of absolute rest. The garden was different. Colorful flowers where there had only been weeds before. The grass was mowed, the clean windows reflecting the afternoon sun. What the hell? Robert pushed the gate. The hinge didn't creak. Someone had oiled it. Voices came from inside the house, children's voices. Robert's heart sped up. He took a deep breath, counting to 3, as his cardiologist had taught him. He climbed the porch steps and stopped at the open door. A little girl was running through the living room with a doll in her hand. A baby was crawling on a rug Robert had never seen. And on the sofa, his sofa, a young woman was folding a basket of laundry. The woman looked up and froze. "Who are you?" The words left Robert's mouth before he could think. Rose dropped the basket, the clothes scattered on the floor. I can explain." "Explain?" Robert entered the room, his hands trembling. "Explain what you're doing in my house." The little girl ran and hid behind her mother. The baby started to cry. "Please, sir, Rose picked up her son, her voice failing. "I had nowhere to go. The house was abandoned." You thought you could just squat here?" Robert felt the pressure rising in his head. He took another deep breath. "This is trespassing. I'm calling the police." "No." Rose took a step forward, her eyes wide. "Please give me a few days. Just a few days to find another place. My husband died. I lost my job. The rent was late. I was evicted." The words tumbled out, desperate. The little girl started crying along with her brother. Robert ran a hand over his face. This was exactly the kind of stress the doctor had forbidden. "Mommy." The girl tugged on Rose's skirt. "Are we going to live on the street again?" Again. The word echoed in Robert's mind. "Listen." He tried to keep his voice firm. "You can't stay here. This is my house. I came here to recover. I need peace." "I know, sir. I understand." Rose wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "Give me 15 days. 2 weeks. I promise I'll leave without causing any trouble." Robert looked around. The house was immaculate. It smelled of cleanliness, home-cooked food, fresh flowers in a vase on the table. Through the window, he saw the backyard. There was a vegetable garden, a garden in soil he had always thought was too dry to plant anything. 10 days, he said finally. "But I'm staying too. It's my house." "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." Rose hugged her children. "We won't be a bother. You can have the master bedroom. The kids and I will sleep in the small room in the back." "Robert," he sighed. "My name is Robert. Rose, and these are Mary and Peter." An awkward silence hung in the air. Robert didn't know what to do now. Go to his room, sit in the living room with this strange family. The decision was made for him when his cell phone rang. "Dr. Henry, did you make it to the house?" The doctor's cheerful voice echoed. "Remember the rules? No work, no stress, light meals, total rest." "Henry, there's a problem." "What kind of problem did your pressure spike?" Robert looked at Rose, who was holding her son on her hip while drying Mary's tears. There are people living in my house." "People what people?" A woman with 2 kids. She squatted while the house was empty. A silence on the other end. Then you're calling the police? Robert thought of the little girl asking if they would live on the street again. No, I gave her a deadline to leave. How long? 10 days. Robert, the doctor sighed. You need absolute peace. No chaos, no strangers. I know, but she'll stay quiet in her corner. She won't bother me. He had barely hung up when the front door burst open with a bang. Rose, I brought those tomatoes you asked for. A white-haired gentleman walked in carrying a bag, stopping dead in his tracks when he saw Robert. Whoa, Mr. Mario, the owner of the village general store, widened his eyes. Mister, you must be Robert. He dropped the bag and extended his hand enthusiastically. Pleasure, pleasure. Rose has talked so much about you. Robert blinked, confused. Talked about… What did she say? That you were coming back, that you'd finally meet Mr. Mario gave him a conspiratorial nudge. Long-distance relationships are tough, huh? But now you're here. How wonderful. Mr. Mario, Rose turned bright red. It's not like that at all. I never said… Oh, come on, don't be shy, girl. The old man winked at Robert. A beautiful couple, and the kids already have a stepfather. Marvelous. Robert opened his mouth, but no sound came out. I'm not, he tried. We're not. Mr. Mario, please. Rose was mortified. You've misunderstood everything. I have. The old man scratched his head. But you said you were waiting for the owner of the house to come back, that he was a good man. To leave, Rose practically shouted. I'm waiting to leave. Mr. Mario's smile slowly faded. He looked from Rose to Robert to the children and back to Robert. Oh. A silence fell. Ah, I see. The tension in the room became palpable. Mr. Mario picked up the bag of tomatoes, placing it carefully on the table. Well, he cleared his throat. I'll be going then. Anything you need, Rose, just call. He left, closing the door slowly behind him. Robert ran a hand through his hair. This was turning into a bigger mess than he had imagined. Look, he began. I'll make dinner. Rose interrupted him, her voice trembling. Mr. Robert must be hungry from the trip. You don't have to. Yes, I do. It's the least I can do. She hurried into the kitchen, her children trailing behind her. Robert was left alone in the living room. His living room, but it no longer felt like his. He sat on the sofa, which also wasn't exactly his anymore, and leaned his head back. 10 days. He just had to endure 10 days. The smell of home cooking began to drift from the kitchen. Robert's stomach rumbled. He couldn't remember the last time he had eaten something that wasn't from a restaurant or delivery. Mary appeared at the kitchen doorway, still holding her doll, looking at him curiously. Are you very angry? She asked. Robert didn't know what to say. The girl tilted her head. My mommy cries when you yell. And before Robert could say anything, she ran back to the kitchen. Robert closed his eyes. 10 days. Just 10 days. What could possibly happen in 10 days? Robert woke to the smell of fresh coffee. He glanced at the clock, 6 a.m. He rubbed his face and got out of the still unfamiliar bed. The mattress was comfortable, more comfortable than he remembered. Someone had changed the sheets. When he got to the kitchen, Rose was already there making breakfast. She was wearing a floral apron, her hair tied in a messy bun. Good morning, she said, without looking at him. Coffee's ready. I left bread in the toaster. Thank you. Robert sat at the table, watching her move efficiently around the kitchen. Mary was sitting on the living room floor, drawing. Peter was still asleep. Do you always wake up this early? He asked. I have to take advantage of it while they're asleep. Rose poured coffee into a mug and placed it in front of him. "It's the only peaceful time." Robert took a sip. It was perfect, strong, hot, just the way he liked it. "How did you know what? That I like my coffee strong like this?" Rose finally looked at him. "I found the coffee grounds that were in the cupboard. I figured you liked that kind." She went back to washing dishes. Robert ate in silence, feeling strange. How long had it been since someone made breakfast for him? Years. Many years. His phone buzzed on the table. "Dr. Henry, how was the first night? Strange. Any symptoms? Dizziness, chest pain, shortness of breath? No, nothing like that. Excellent. Remember, I'm coming by this afternoon to check on you." Robert had forgotten. "Henry, you don't have to. I'm fine." "Protocol, my friend. You had a serious heart attack 3 weeks ago. I'm coming." He hung up before Robert could protest. Rose turned, drying her hands on her apron. "The doctor is coming this afternoon. I'll get everything tidied up, prepare some tea in case he wants any." "You don't have to." "I know I don't have to," she interrupted, her voice firm. "But while I'm here, I'll do my part. Taking care of the house, cooking, cleaning, that's the agreement." "I didn't ask for that." "I know, but it's the right thing to do." Robert was about to reply when Mary ran up to him holding out a piece of paper. "Look, I drew you." In the drawing, a giant man with an angry face stood next to a house. Rose and the children were tiny dots in the corner. "Do I have that angry of a face?" Robert asked. Mary nodded with conviction. "Very angry." Rose took the girl by the hand. Mary let Robert have his coffee in peace. "No, it's okay." Robert looked at the drawing again. You draw well." Mary's eyes lit up. "Really? Really?" The girl skipped away, happy. Rose sighed. "Sorry, she's very energetic." "You don't need to apologize." An odd silence settled between them. Robert finished his coffee and stood up. "I'm going to take a walk in the backyard. Be careful with the sun, it's strong." Robert was about to say he didn't need a babysitter, but he controlled himself. He went out the back door. The yard was transformed. The garden had tomatoes, lettuce, chives, bell peppers. Chickens pecked around in a makeshift coop. There was even a flower bed next to the fence. "How long did it take her to do all this?" he murmured. 3 months. Robert turned around. Mr. Mario was at the fence, smiling. "She's a hard worker, that Rose. She showed up here in the winter with the kids freezing cold, hadn't eaten all day. I offered help. She said she didn't want charity." The old man stroked his beard. "So I suggested she take care of your house. Said the owner hadn't been here in years, that the place was falling apart. She accepted, and look what she's done." Robert looked at this garden again. "She didn't know I was coming back." "Nobody knew, son. You dropped off the map." Mr. Mario shrugged. "The whole village thought you'd abandoned the house, that you'd never come back." "I didn't abandon it. I was just busy." "Busy making money in the city. I know." The old man chuckled. "But money doesn't grow tomatoes, does it?" He waved and walked away, leaving Robert alone with his thoughts. In the afternoon, Dr. Henry arrived in an old Jeep, kicking up dust on the road. He got out of the car carrying a medical bag and a wide smile. "So this is where you're hiding for 2 months." "I'm not hiding." "Yes, you are." Henry entered the house, looking around. "Wow, it's spotless. Did you clean all this?" "No, Rose did. The squatter." "She has a name." Henry raised his eyebrows. "Interesting." Before Robert could answer, Rose appeared from the kitchen with a tray tea, homemade cookies, folded napkins. "Good afternoon, Doctor. I brought a snack." "Thank you, Mrs. Rose." "You can call me Rose." She placed the tray on the table and discreetly left. Henry waited until she disappeared down the hall. She's beautiful. Henry what? Just stating a fact. The doctor opened his bag. All right, take off your shirt. I need to check your pressure. Robert obeyed. Henry worked in silence, checking his pressure, heartbeat, and breathing. He jotted notes in his little book. Everything's stable. Are you behaving? Yes. No work, no calls to the office. No work, no stress. Robert hesitated. Henry noticed. What's wrong? Nothing. It's just strange sharing the house with a beautiful woman and 2 kids. Henry smiled. I can imagine. But it could be good for you. Company conversation. How long have you lived alone? 5 years. 6. Exactly. Loneliness isn't good for the heart, Robert, and I'm not just talking about the physical organ. Don't start with your holistic theories. They're not theories, they're scientific facts. Henry packed up his equipment. You need human connection, relationships, laughter. You turned into a robot in New York. Work, work, work. Look where it got you. I know. Do you really? The doctor closed his bag. Because the last time we talked, you said you were going back to the office as soon as you recovered. And I will. Will you? Henry pointed to the window where Rose was hanging clothes on the line while Mary played with a cat. Or are you starting to realize that maybe there's another way to live? Robert didn't answer. Henry sighed. I'll be back next week. Try to really relax. Okay, enjoy this time, let life happen a little. After the doctor left, Robert sat on the porch watching the backyard. Peter had woken up and was crawling on the grass under Rose's watchful eye. Mary was chasing the cat, laughing. Robert, she yelled, come play with us. I'm good here, thanks. Oh, you're no fun. The girl pouted. Rose picked up her son and came over to the porch. She didn't mean to bother you. She didn't. Are you okay? Did the doctor say anything? I'm fine, everything's normal. Rose nodded, but didn't leave. She stood there, bouncing Peter on her hip. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why haven't you been here in so long? This house is beautiful. The place is so peaceful. Robert looked at the mountains in the distance. Work, always work. I thought I didn't have time. And now I have no choice. Rose was silent for a moment. So sometimes we need to lose our choice to make the right choice. She went back to the yard before Robert could answer. That night, Robert couldn't sleep. He lay listening to the sounds of the house, Rose humming quietly to get Peter to sleep, the creak of the floorboards, the wind in the trees outside. At 2 a.m., he got up for a glass of water. The kitchen light was on. Rose was sitting at the table surrounded by papers and a pen doing calculations. Can't sleep? He asked. She jumped, startled. Sorry, I thought you were asleep. Is everything okay? What are you doing? Rose quickly gathered the papers. Nothing, just bills. Robert saw numbers, crossed out values, tight calculations. She was looking for a place to live, trying to fit rent into a meager budget. Rose, I'll find something, she said quickly. I still have 8 days. I'll find it. But her voice trembled, and Robert realized she wasn't sure. Good night, Robert. She turned off the light and left, leaving the papers on the table. Robert stood alone in the dark kitchen, staring at those impossible numbers, and for the first time in years, he felt a tightness in his chest, but it wasn't because of his bad heart. Robert woke up to a scream. He jumped out of bed, heart pounding, and ran into the hallway to find Rose on the bathroom floor, clutching her ankle. What happened? I slipped, she groaned, her face pale. Peter spilled water on the floor last night. I forgot to dry it. Can you get up? I think so. She tried to put weight on her foot and almost fell again. Robert caught her by the arm. "Wait, I'll help you." He carried her to the sofa. She was lighter than he imagined, and went to the kitchen for ice. When he returned, Mary was beside her mother crying. "Is Mommy going to be okay?" "She will be." Robert wrapped the ice in a towel and placed it on Rose's ankle. "It's just a sprain. You need to rest." Rose closed her eyes, breathing deeply. "I can't stay still. I have to take care of the kids, the house." "I'll take care of it." She opened her eyes. "What?" "I'll take care of it. Today, tomorrow, if needed." Robert stood up. "You stay put." "Doctor's orders." "You're not a doctor." "I'm a doctor's patient. Same thing." For the first time, Robert saw Rose truly smile. A small but genuine smile. "All right. Thank you." The next few hours were complete chaos. Peter cried because he wanted his mom. Mary spilled juice on the rug. Robert burned the rice. When he tried to give the baby a bath, he ended up wetter than the child. "How do you do this every day?" he asked, Rose exhausted, holding a squirming Peter. "Practice," she laughed at his expression. "Lots of practice." "This isn't human. It's mission impossible." Mary appeared in the living room with the cat in her arms. "Uncle Bob Whiskers is hungry." Uncle Bob Robert blinked. "That's you," Mary said, as if it were obvious. "Robert is too long. Uncle Bob is better." Rose tried to hide a laugh. Robert sighed. "Okay, Uncle Bob it is. Where's the cat food?" "I don't know." "Great." He spent the whole morning looking for cat food, changing diapers, cleaning up juice, and trying to soothe Peter. When he finally sat on the sofa at noon, he was destroyed. "I respect you," he said to Rose. "A lot. This is harder than closing a multi-million-dollar deal." Rose laughed. "Thanks, I think." A car pulled up out front. Mr. Mario got out carrying bags. "Heard there was an accident here. Brought supplies." He walked in without ceremony. He looked at Rose on the sofa, Robert holding Peter, Mary drawing on the floor. What a lovely domestic scene. "Mr. Mario," Rose began. "Nonsense, nonsense. Came to help." The old man went to the kitchen and started taking things out of the bags. "Brought chicken, vegetables, rice that's actually good. Not that stuff you've got there that's pure rock. I'm going to make a proper lunch." Robert looked at Rose, who just shrugged. "That's just how he is. No use arguing." Half an hour later, the kitchen was filled with delicious smells. Mr. Mario hummed as he cooked, telling stories about the village that no one had asked to hear. "And that's when Mrs. Carmen found out her husband hadn't gone on a business trip but was hiding at his sister's house just to avoid painting the fence." He guffawed. 3 days of peace he got. 3 days. Mary laughed along. Peter clapped his hands without understanding. Even Rose was smiling. Robert found himself smiling too. When lunch was ready, Mr. Mario insisted they all eat together at the table. "Family eats together," he declared. "It's the rule." "We're not a family," Robert said. "Not yet." Mr. Mario winked. "But you will be." "Mr. Mario," Rose blushed. The old man laughed and served food for everyone. The chicken was perfect, the rice fluffy, the vegetables seasoned just right. "This is delicious," Robert admitted. "Of course it is. I learned from my late wife. What a woman cooked like nobody's business." Mr. Mario got nostalgic for a moment. "It's been 10 years since she passed, but I still smell her perfume sometimes." "I'm sorry," Rose said softly. "Oh, no need. I had 50 happy years with her. Some people don't even get 5. He looked at Rose. "Your husband, how long has it been?" "It'll be a year in December." "How did it happen, if you don't mind me asking?" Rose went quiet. Mary stopped eating. Robert felt the tension. A work accident, Rose finally said. He worked in construction. A beam fell. It was quick. The children were small. Peter was 6 months, Mary 3 years old. Rose looked at her children. It was hard, very hard. I tried to keep paying rent, but I lost my job. The landlady was patient for a few months, but then it wasn't enough. And you ended up here, Mr. Mario finished. Yes, I'm sorry, Robert. I know it was wrong, but I didn't know what to do. I was desperate. Robert pushed food around on his plate. You don't need to apologize again. Yes, I do. You were generous to give me this time. Generous? Mr. Mario snorted. Generous would be letting her stay. Mr. Mario, Rose protested. That's not how it works. Why not? The house is huge. There's plenty of room and she takes care of everything. Cooks, cleans gardens. Robert doesn't even have to do anything. Because it's not her house, Robert said. It's mine. So what an empty house is good for nothing. A house needs life, people, food on the table, and laughter in the walls. The old man slapped the table. You have all that now. You're going to throw it away. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. You adults complicate things. Mr. Mario stood up. Well, I've said my piece. Now I'm leaving before I say too much. He left, slamming the door. The silence at the table was heavy. Sorry, Rose murmured. He had no right to talk like that. You don't have to apologize for him. Mary looked from one to the other. Are we really leaving, Mommy? We are, sweetie, in a few days. But I like it here. And Whiskers, and the garden. We'll take Whiskers and make another garden. It won't be the same, the girl started to cry. I don't want to leave. She ran to her room. Peter, startled, started crying too. Rose tried to get up and groaned in pain. Stay there. Robert picked up Peter. I'll go. He went to the kids' room. Mary was lying on the bed, hugging her doll, sobbing. Robert sat on the edge of the mattress, still holding the now calm Peter. Mary. She didn't answer. Look at me. The girl turned her tear-streaked face. I know you like it here and I get it. It's a nice, peaceful place. Then why do we have to go? Robert didn't know how to answer. Why did they? Because they were squatters, because he had come for peace and quiet. But the house had never felt so alive. It's complicated. Grown-ups always say that when they don't want to explain. Mary wiped her nose. You don't like us. It's not that. Then what is it? Robert looked at Peter, who had fallen asleep in his lap, at Mary with her big, sad eyes, at the old worn-out doll she clutched to her chest. I don't know, he admitted. It was the truth. That night, after everyone was asleep, Robert went out onto the porch. The stars shone brightly in the pollution-free sky. The breeze carried the scent of earth and flowers. He thought of New York, of the empty apartment, the cold office, the endless meetings, the infernal traffic. He thought of the heart attack, the chest pain, the fear, the loneliness of the hospital. And he thought of Rose sleeping in the small room with the children, of Mary calling him Uncle Bob, of Peter drooling on his shoulder, of Mr. Mario, and his stories of the home-cooked meals, the hot breakfast of the life that had invaded his house along with that family. I don't know, he repeated to the stars, but something in his chest, and this time it wasn't his sick heart, began to stir. Robert woke to the smell of pancakes. He went down to the kitchen and found Rose limping between the stove and the table, her ankle still wrapped. You should be resting. I'm better. She expertly flipped a pancake. And you can't live on burnt rice. I thought it turned out okay. Rose laughed. It was charred. Robert sat at the table and watched her work. 5 days had passed. 5 remained for Rose to find a place, but she still hadn't found anything. He knew, because he saw the papers on the table every night, circled ads numbers that never added up, phone numbers that went unanswered. Rose. Banana pancakes. She placed a plate in front of him. Try them. He ate. They were delicious. Of course they were. I need to talk to you about... Mommy, Uncle Bob, Mary came running in. Whiskers climbed the tree and won't come down. Robert sighed. Cats always come down on their own. But he's meowing. He's scared. Rose looked out the window. The cat was on a high branch, meowing pathetically. I'll go. Robert stood up. With your heart. No way. Rose grabbed a chair. I'll go. With your ankle, are you crazy? They stared at each other. Mary looked from one to the other. I'm lighter, Rose argued. I'm taller, I can reach easier. You had a heart attack a month ago, and you can barely walk. Guys, Mary stamped her foot. While you're fighting, Whiskers is suffering, Robert huffed. Fine, but I'll go slowly and you stay here and hold the chair. 10 minutes later, he was on the branch, reaching for the cat, which was scratching his hands. Damn animal, he grumbled, grabbing Whiskers by the scruff of his neck. Stop struggling. Careful, Rose yelled from below. Robert climbed down with the cat under his arm. When he touched the ground, he was out of breath. Are you okay? Your face is red. Rose put her hand on his chest. Your heart is racing. I'm fine. He took a deep breath. Just out of shape. You need to rest. I really do. But he didn't move. He stood there with Rose's hand still on his chest, feeling her warmth through his shirt. Rose realized and quickly pulled her hand away. Sorry, It's okay. An awkward silence fell between them. Mary took the cat and ran off oblivious to the tension. Robert, Rose began. A car pulled up in front of the house. It wasn't Dr. Henry's old Jeep. It was a gleaming black Mercedes. A woman got out. Impeccable suit, high heels, perfectly straight hair. Sunglasses that couldn't hide her expression of disdain as she looked around. So, this is where you're hiding. She took off her glasses. It's pathetic, Robert. Robert's stomach sank. Patricia. Who is she? Rose whispered. My ex-business partner. Patricia strode toward them, her heels sinking into the dirt. I came in person because you won't answer your phone. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Yes, we do. About the company, about your shares, about the fact that you're throwing it all away to play farmer. She glanced at Rose with poorly disguised contempt. Excuse us, private matters. Rose took a step back. I'll go check on the children. Rose, Robert called, but she was already inside. Patricia smirked. Pretty. Is she the new girlfriend, different from your usual type? She's not my girlfriend, and it's none of your business. Everything that involves you is my business. We're partners, Robert. Or did you forget? She crossed her arms. The company is growing. We have offers for international expansion. Investors are lining up, and you disappeared, vanished, left everything in my hands. You always wanted total control. Now you have it. I don't want control, I want my partner back. The Robert I knew, ambitious, focused, a winner. She stepped closer. Not this hermit you've become. I almost died, Patricia. I know, and it was horrible, but you recovered. You're alive. You're fine. She pointed to the house. And you're wasting your life here. Doing what playing house with some squatter and kids that aren't even yours. Be careful what you say. Or what you'll kick me out, sue me. Patricia laughed. Wake up, Robert. This fantasy's going to end. And when it does, you'll realize you threw away everything we built. We didn't build anything. I built it. You just invested money. And you're throwing that money in the trash. Her voice grew sharp. I have offers on the table, interested buyers. If you don't come back, I'm selling my share and leaving you behind. Then sell. Patricia blinked, surprised. What? Sell your share. Sell it all. I don't care anymore. Are you insane? It's your life's work. It was. Robert looked toward the house where Mary was pressing her face against the window, waving at him. Not anymore. Patricia followed his gaze. Her expression hardened. It's because of her, isn't it, the squatter? It's not because of anyone. It's for me. You're sick, confused. The heart attack messed with your head. For the first time in years, my head is clear. Patricia put her sunglasses back on. You're going to regret this. Maybe, but it will be my regret to have. She got in her car and sped off, kicking up dust. Robert stood there watching until the Mercedes disappeared down the road. When he went inside, Rose was in the kitchen pretending to wash dishes that were already clean. Everything okay? She asked, without looking at him. Yes. She seemed important. She was the past. Rose finally faced him. Robert, I overheard part of the conversation by accident. The window was open. She dried her hands on a cloth. You can't throw everything away. Your company, your work, because of this. Because of what? Of me, the kids, this temporary situation. She stepped closer. Look, I know you're confused. The heart attack, the recovery, having people in your house. But your life is in New York. Your business, your future. And what if I don't want that future anymore? Don't talk like that. You just need time. Rose, I found a place, she interrupted. A small apartment 2 hours from here. The rent fits the budget if I can get a part-time job. The landlady accepts kids and even cats. Robert felt something collapse in his chest. When, I can move next week, before the deadline is up. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Her voice was firm, but her eyes were shining. You've been very kind, more than I deserved. But it's time. For me and for you. She left the kitchen before he could answer. That night, Mr. Mario showed up with a bottle of whiskey. Heard you had a fancy visitor today. News travels fast. In this village, everything travels fast. The old man sat on the porch next to Robert. Want to talk about it? There's nothing to talk about. Lies. You've got the look of a man who's lost his mind and isn't sure he wants to find it. Mr. Mario opened the bottle and offered it. Drink. Good for the soul. The doctor forbade it. The doctor ain't here. Robert took the bottle and had a swig. It burned, but it was a good burn. Rose is leaving, he said. I know. How do you know? She told me. Asked me to look after the cat if something goes wrong at the new place. Mr. Mario took the bottle back. You're letting her go. It's not a matter of letting. It's her life. And yours. What do you want? Robert looked at the stars. I don't know anymore. Lies again. You know. You're just afraid to admit it. Admit what? That you've fallen in love with her. The words hung in the air. Robert opened his mouth to deny it, but couldn't. It's crazy, he finally said. I've known her for a week. So what I fell in love with my wife in 3 days. We were married a month later, 50 years together. Mr. Mario smiled. Love doesn't have a timeline, son. She's a widow with 2 kids, no job, no money. And I'm me. You're what, rich, successful? The old man laughed. That stuff doesn't matter. You think she cares about your money? I don't know. I do. She doesn't. If she did, she would have thrown herself at your feet when she found out who you were. But she didn't. She's leaving, giving you your peace back. Mr. Mario got serious. The question isn't what she wants, it's what you want. Robert took another swig. I want her to stay. Then tell her. I can't. It would be pressure. She'd feel obligated. Or she'd feel happy. Ever think of that? Inside the house, Peter started to cry. Robert heard Rose's footsteps, her soft voice soothing the baby. A lullaby in Portuguese, melodious and sad. 5 days, he murmured. I still have 5 days. For what to decide or to get the courage? Robert didn't answer. Mr. Mario stood up, leaving the bottle. Don't waste it, son. You almost died. You got a second chance. Don't throw it away. He left, leaving Robert alone with his thoughts, and the lullaby drifting through the window. Robert woke up with a decision. Today, he would talk to Rose. And tell her. Well, he didn't know exactly what he was going to say, but he was going to say it. He went down to the kitchen and found the table empty. No coffee, no pancakes, no Rose. Rose. Silence. He went to the small back room. The door was ajar. Rose was sitting on the bed, surrounded by open suitcases folding clothes with mechanical movements. The children were playing on the floor. You're packing. She turned her eyes red. I'm leaving tomorrow. I thought it'd be better to get a head start. Tomorrow. But there are still 4 days left. I know, but I managed to start the job earlier, and the sooner I leave, the better for everyone. Robert entered the room. Better how? Robert, please don't make this harder. Harder for whom? Rose stopped folding clothes. For me. Rose, Uncle Bob. Mary appeared between them, holding her doll. Are we really leaving? We are, sweetie. Rose ran a hand through her daughter's hair. To a new place. You'll like it. But I like it here. I know. The girl shuffled away. Rose went back to packing, avoiding Robert's gaze. You don't have to go. I have to. Why? She finally stopped and faced him. Because I'm starting to get used to this. And I can't. This isn't mine. It's not real. It's just a moment, a pause, but my life isn't here. What if it could be? It can't. Her voice became firm. You have your life. I have mine. And they don't mix. Who says reality? Rose shut a suitcase with force. Look, I appreciate everything truly, but I can't be indebted to you. I can't live on favors. I need to stand on my own 2 feet for my children. This wouldn't be living on a favor. It would be what Robert, she turned sharply. Tell me, what would it be? He opened his mouth, then closed it. The words wouldn't come out. Rose sighed. That's what I thought. You don't know either. She picked up Peter and left the room, leaving Robert alone with the half-packed suitcases. Dr. Henry arrived at noon to find Robert sitting on the porch, looking like he was at a funeral. Did someone die? She's leaving tomorrow. Ah. The doctor sat next to him. And you're going to let her? She wants to go. Did you ask her if she wants to stay? More or less. What do you mean, more or less? Either you asked, or you didn't. Robert rubbed his face. I tried, but I couldn't. The right words wouldn't come out. What words are you trying to say? Silence. Henry sighed. Robert, you're one of the smartest men I know. You close million-dollar deals, convince investors lead teams, but in front of a woman you like, you turn into a teenager. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. Do you like her? Yes. Do you want her to stay? Yes. Then say that, with those words. Rose, I like you. I want you to stay." Henry slapped his thigh. "They're done?" "And what if she says no? And what if she says yes?" Robert didn't answer. The doctor shook his head. "I'm going to examine you. And I'm going to examine your courage, too, because I think it's sicker than your heart." After the exam, everything normal, stable pressure, heart beating well, Henry left with one last piece of advice. "You almost died, Robert. Did you learn anything from that, or not?" In the afternoon, Rose went out with the children to say goodbye to the neighbors. Robert was left alone in the house, pacing back and forth. He went into the small back room. The suitcases were closed, ready. Only a small backpack was left still open on the bed. Inside, he saw a notebook. He shouldn't look. He knew he shouldn't. But he looked. It was a diary. The pages were filled with Rose's round handwriting. He flipped through, reading random snippets. "The children are hungry again. I don't know what to do. The money is gone. Found this house today. It's abandoned. Could I just for a few days? Mary is happy here. She has room to play. Peter is healthier, but I know it won't last." And then a recent entry. "Robert arrived today. I thought my world was going to end. But he was kind. He didn't call the police. He gave me a deadline. Why is he so kind?" Further on, "I'm starting to like him. This is dangerous, very dangerous. I can't get attached. I can't let the children get attached. We need to leave before it hurts too much." And the last entry from yesterday. "I think I'm falling in love with him. How absurd. How crazy. A poor widow with 2 kids squatting in his house. He deserves someone better. Someone from his world, someone who isn't a burden. I have to leave before I do something stupid. Before I confess something I can't confess." Robert closed the notebook, his hands trembling. "Were you reading my diary?" He turned around. Rose was at the door, her face pale. "Rose, You had no right." She came in and snatched the notebook from his hands. "This is private." "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have, but I needed to know." "Know what?" "That I'm pathetic, that I fell in love with the owner of the house I invaded." Tears started streaming down her face. "Congratulations. Now you know. Happy. Rose, no." She held up a hand. "Don't say anything. Don't make this more humiliating than it already is. You don't understand. I read it because you wanted to laugh, because you wanted to make sure I'd really leave mission accomplished. Because I feel the same way." The words exploded out of him. Rose froze. "What? I feel the same way." Robert stepped closer. "I'm falling in love with you too. And it's driving me crazy because it's been a week. A week. How does someone fall in love in a week?" "I don't know." Her voice was a whisper. "But I know that when I wake up, the first thing I want is to see you. I know that when Peter laughs, my heart does this weird thing. I know that when Mary calls me Uncle Bob, I want to cry. I know the idea of you leaving is killing me more than the heart attack ever could." Rose was openly weeping now. "Robert, this is insane." "I know. You barely know me." "I know. I'm a widow with 2 kids, no money, nothing." "I know. And I don't care." "You should care," she practically shouted. "You're rich, successful, you can have any woman. Why would you want someone like me? Because you make coffee the way I like it without me having to ask. Because you take care of a house that isn't yours as if it were. Because you're the strongest woman I've ever met. Because when I look at you, I can finally breathe for the first time in years." He took her hands. They were cold, trembling. "Stay," he pleaded. "Please stay." Rose closed her eyes. "I can't." "Why? Because I'm scared." She opened her eyes, and the fear was there, raw and real. Scared of getting attached and losing again. Scared of not being enough. Scared you'll wake up one day and realize you made a mistake. I won't. You don't know that. No one does. She pulled her hands away. My husband promised he would take care of us forever, and the next day he was dead. I can't go through that again, Rose. Let me go, Robert. It's better this way. For everyone. She left the room. Robert heard the front door slam. He stood there holding the emptiness she left behind. Mr. Mario found him an hour later, sitting on the floor of the small room with his head in his hands. So you told her. I told her, and she's still leaving. The old man sat on the floor beside him with some difficulty due to his age. She's scared. I know. You understand why? Robert lifted his head. She lost her husband, lost everything. She's afraid of losing again. Then show her she won't. How she won't even listen. Mr. Mario smiled. Sometimes son love isn't about words, it's about actions. When Rose returned with the children, night had already fallen. The house was dark, strangely dark. Robert, she called. No answer. She turned on the living room light and stopped. The table was set, candles lit flowers in the center, and a delicious smell was coming from the kitchen. Robert appeared wearing a ridiculous apron holding a platter. Welcome to the House of Peace restaurant, he announced solemnly. Table for 3? Oops, 4 counting me. Mary clapped her hands. How pretty, Robert. What is this? Dinner, he interrupted her. Your last dinner here. Let me do this. Please. Rose couldn't say no. The dinner was chaotic. The food was a bit burnt, the rice was mushy, but there was love in every bite. And when Mary fell asleep in her chair and Peter dozed off in Rose's lap, Robert finally spoke. I can't promise you I'll never die. No one can. But I can promise you that as long as I live, I will wake up every day and choose you and the children and this crazy life, every single day. Rose looked at him, tears in her eyes. How can you be so sure? Because for the first time in my life, my heart isn't just beating. It's alive. Rose didn't sleep all night. She lay awake, looking at the packed bags, listening to the children's breathing, thinking about Robert's words. As long as I live, I will wake up every day and choose you. But what if he didn't live? What if his heart stopped again? What if... She shook her head. She couldn't think like that, but she couldn't stop. When the sun rose, she made her decision. She was leaving. Today now, before she lost her nerve. She woke the children, silently dressed them, grabbed the bags. The cab she had called was already waiting on the road. Come on, my loves, very quietly. Without even saying goodbye to Uncle Bob, Mary whispered. It's better this way. They were at the door when Robert appeared in the hallway, disheveled, still in his pajamas. You're running away. Rose froze. I'm not running away. I'm leaving as planned. At 6 a.m., without saying goodbye, I thought it would be easier. For whom? He came down the stairs. For me, for the kids, or for you, Robert. Mommy, I want to say goodbye. Mary started to cry. Sweetie, we can't. Why not? Robert knelt in front of the little girl. You can say goodbye, Mary. To me, to the house, to Whiskers. You're making this harder, Rose practically shouted. Good. Because it should be hard to leave. It should hurt. Because when something hurts, it means it matters. And when it matters, you lose it, Rose yelled back, the tears finally falling. Everything that matters you lose. My husband mattered, and I lost him. This house matters, and I'm going to lose it. You matter, and I can't stand to lose again. The silence that followed was broken only by Mary's sobs. Robert stood up slowly. So you'd rather never have it. You'd rather live in fear than actually live. I have children to protect. And you think you're protecting them by running away, by teaching them to be afraid of getting attached, of loving. I'm teaching them to survive. Surviving isn't living. Rose gripped the handles of her bags. I have to go. Then go. Robert stepped back. But before you do, look at your children. Look at Mary and Peter, and tell me you're doing this for them, and not because you're scared. Rose looked at Mary, who was crying while hugging her doll, at Peter, who was reaching his little arms out to Robert, not understanding why no one was picking him up. Her voice failed. I can't. Mommy's scared, Mary said, wiping her tears. I'm scared too, but we can stay even if we're scared, like when there's thunder and we stay together. Rose fell to her knees, dropping the bags, hugging her daughter. The sobs came in a torrent, years of pain and fear and loneliness pouring out all at once. Robert approached slowly, placing a hand on her shoulder. Stay, at least for one more day, to think. No pressure, no promises. Just stay. Rose couldn't answer, just nodded, still clinging to her daughter. The day passed in tense silence. Rose stayed in her room. Robert looked after the children. Mary was quiet, not playing. Even Peter seemed to sense the sadness in the air. At 3 p.m., Mary started to cough, a dry, insistent cough. Mary! Rose came out of her room. Are you okay? Just a cough, Mommy. But by 5 p.m., the cough had worsened, and Mary was hot, very hot. Robert! Rose panicked. She has a fever, a high one. Robert touched the girl's forehead. It was burning. I'll call Henry. But Henry wasn't in the village. He had gone to the city. He wouldn't be back until the next day. The nearest hospital is an hour from here, Mr. Mario said when Robert called him. But the road is blocked. There was a landslide last night. It'll take them a while to clear it. So what do I do? There's Mrs. Benedita, the village midwife. She knows about home remedies. I'll go get her. While they waited, Mary got worse. The fever rose. She started to become delirious, calling for her dead father. Daddy! Daddy, where are you? Rose cried helplessly. Do something, Robert, please. I'm trying. He placed cool cloths on the girl's forehead, but it wasn't helping. Where's Mrs. Benedita? Mr. Mario returned with an elderly woman, but she just shook her head after examining Mary. It's pneumonia, the beginning of it. She needs antibiotics. I don't have any. I do. Robert ran to his room. I have some left over from my treatment at the hospital. No, Mrs. Benedita stopped him. Adult antibiotics are different. It could harm her. Then what do we do? Rose cried out in desperation. Pray, the old woman said, and keep the fever down. If it goes past 104... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. The night was the longest of Robert's life. He and Rose took turns with the cool cloths trying to bring Mary's fever down. The girl drifted in and out of consciousness, muttering nonsense. She's going to be fine, Robert kept repeating. She's going to be fine. You don't know that, Rose whispered, her voice broken. You can't promise that. But I am promising. Like you promised you'd choose us every day. She stared at him, her eyes red. What if you can't? What if... Stop. Robert held her face in his hands. Stop thinking the worst. Mary is going to be okay. She will be. I can't lose anyone else, Rose sobbed. I can't. You won't. I promise. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. He hugged her tightly. Because I will do everything in my power not to let that happen. Everything. Do you hear me? Everything. Rose clung to him, and for the first time since her husband died, she let someone hold her as she fell apart. At 4 a.m., the fever finally broke. Mary opened her eyes, weak but conscious. Mommy. I'm here, sweetie. I'm here. Rose covered her daughter's face with kisses. I had a dream, Mary murmured. Daddy came. He said everything is okay, that it's okay to let Uncle Bob take care of us now. Rose looked at Robert, who had tears in his eyes. He did, she whispered. He said he's happy in heaven and wants us to be happy too. Mary fell asleep again, but this time it was real sleep, not delirium. Her breathing was steady, her forehead cool. Rose rested her head on Robert's shoulder, exhausted. I almost lost her. But you didn't. What if I had? What if the fever hadn't gone down? What if? But it did. He turned her face toward him. It did. She's okay. You're okay. I'm okay. We're all here alive together. For how long? I don't know. Nobody knows. But it's not about how long. It's about what we do with the time we have. Rose closed her eyes. I'm tired of being afraid. Then stop. It's not that easy. I know. But you don't have to do it alone anymore. She was silent for a long moment. Then kiss me. Robert blinked. What? Kiss me before I lose my courage again. And he smiled and kissed her softly, slowly, as if she might break. Rose deepened the kiss, pouring years of loneliness and fear and lost hope into that one moment. When they broke apart, she was crying again, but this time they were different tears. I'm in love with you, she confessed, hopelessly, madly in love. Good. Robert rested his forehead against hers. Because I'm in love with you, too. This is crazy. It is. We barely know each other. True. What if it goes wrong? What if it goes right? Rose laughed, a tear-soaked laugh. You're stubborn. And you're a scaredy cat. We're quite a pair. We really are. Stop talking, Mary mumbled in her sleep. I'm trying to sleep. They both laughed quietly. So, Robert asked. Stay. Rose looked at Mary sleeping at Peter in his makeshift crib, at the house that had become a home, at the man who had invaded her heart the same way she had invaded his house. I'll stay. Are you sure? No, she smiled, but I'm going to stay anyway. When the sun rose, Mr. Mario appeared at the door with coffee and fresh bread. How's the little girl? Better, much better, Robert said. And you too. The old man looked from one to the other, noticing their intertwined hands. Did you sort things out? We did, Rose confirmed, blushing. Thank God, Mr. Mario laughed. I couldn't take another day of all that tension. He put the coffee on the table. Now answer me one thing. When's the wedding? Mr. Mario, they both said at once. What I'm just asking. The whole village is going to want to know. Robert and Rose looked at each other and burst out laughing. Through the window, the sun illuminated the garden, the flowers, the yard full of life. The house was no longer just a house. It was a home. And finally, after so long, they were both home. 3 days later, Mary was completely recovered, running through the yard after Whiskers, as if nothing had happened. Rose still watched her closely, but the fear had lessened. It hadn't disappeared. Maybe it never would completely, but now it was a fear she shared with someone. Robert was on the porch when his phone rang. Patricia. He hesitated, then answered. I thought about what you said. Her voice was different, less sharp. About selling my share. And I found a buyer. International Group generous offer. But before I close, I need your final answer. She paused. Are you coming back or not? Robert looked out at the yard. Rose was hanging clothes on the line, laughing at something Mary had said. Peter was crawling on the grass, trying to catch a butterfly. I'm not coming back. Silence on the other end. Are you sure, because there's no going back after this, Robert? If I sell, I know, and I'm sure. Because of her, because of me, he corrected. I spent years building a company and almost died. Alone in a cold office. Working for what? For whom? He took a deep breath. I don't want that life anymore. And the money or assets, you're throwing it all away. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm investing differently. Maybe open something here in the village, something smaller. Something that lets me sleep at night and wake up without pressure in my chest. He smiled. Something that lets me live. Patricia sighed. You've changed. I have. I hope you'll be happy, Robert. Truly. I hope so too. Good luck with the sale. He hung up and felt a weight lift from his shoulders. It wasn't fear. It wasn't regret. It was freedom. Rose came up onto the porch, wiping her hands on her apron. Everything okay? Everything's great. He pulled her into a hug. That was Patricia. She's selling the company. And you're okay with that? I'm surprisingly okay with it. She pulled back a little, studying his face. You won't miss the company, the deals. Robert thought for a moment. Maybe sometimes, but not enough to go back. He held her face in his hands. I choose this. I choose you. Every day. Rose smiled, her eyes shining. Every day is a long time. It's still not long enough. They kissed soft and slow, interrupted only by Mary yelling, You stop kissing, come and play. Dr. Henry showed up the next afternoon for the final checkup before giving Robert a full, clean bill of health. Normal pressure, perfect heartbeat. You're better than you were before the heart attack. He put away his stethoscope. What are you doing? Living. Specifically waking up early, eating home-cooked food, playing with the kids, tending the garden, laughing a lot. Henry smiled. Keep doing it because it's working. He patted Robert's shoulder. You scared me, my friend. I thought I was going to lose you. I thought so too. And now I have reasons to stick around. They both looked out the window. Rose was teaching Mary how to plant seeds. Peter was sleeping in the shade, his thumb in his mouth. She's special, Henry commented. So, when are you asking her to marry you? Robert almost choked. Marry her. It's only been 2 weeks. The doctor laughed. You almost died. She lost her husband. You both know life is short. Why wait? Why? Because it's too fast. For whom? For other people, to hell with them. Do you love her? I do. Does she love you? I think so. You think or you know? Robert thought about the kisses, the late-night talks, the way she looked at him when she thought he wasn't watching. I know. So, what are you waiting for? A sign from God? That night after the children were asleep, Robert took Rose out to the porch. There was fresh coffee, a cake Mr. Mario had brought, and the brightest stars he had ever seen. I need to talk to you about something, he began. Rose tensed. That's never a good start. No, it's not a bad thing. He took her hand. On the contrary, I think. You think, I'm nervous, give me a break. She laughed. All right, what is it? Robert took a deep breath. He had no ring. He had no elaborate plan. He just had the truth. I know it soon. I know we barely know each other. I know there are a million reasons to wait to be sure to be sensible. He looked into her eyes. But I almost died, and you lost someone you loved. And we both know there's no guaranteed time. So, Robert, her voice was trembling. Let me finish, please. He laced his fingers with hers. I don't want to wake up without you anymore. I don't want to have coffee alone. I don't want Mary to call me Uncle Bob. I want to be more than that. I want to be part of your family. For real. Tears began to run down Rose's face. Are you Are you asking me to marry you? Silence. Just the sound of crickets and the wind in the trees. Rose, I know I don't have a ring. I didn't make a romantic proposal. I'm probably doing this all wrong, but I can't wait anymore. I love you, Rose. I love you and the kids and this crazy life we've built in 2 weeks. And I want more. I want years, decades if we're lucky. I want to wake up to you complaining about my snoring. I want to teach Peter to play ball. I want to see Mary grow up. I want all of it. Rose was openly sobbing now. Are you sure? Absolutely. Even with me being stubborn, scared, full of baggage. Especially because of all that. Rose, what if I say yes and one day you regret it? I won't regret it. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He wiped the tears from her face with his thumb. Because you're the best thing that ever invaded my life. Rose laughed through her tears. That was the worst marriage proposal I've ever heard. It was terrible, I'm sorry. But it was perfect. She threw her arms around him. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Robert spun her in the air, laughing, feeling lighter than he had in years. Really, you're not going to change your mind. I'll probably change it several times, but in the end, I'll always end up in the same place. She kissed him. Yes. The news spread through the village faster than wildfire. The next morning, Mr. Mario showed up with half the village behind him. A wedding. We're having a wedding. Mr. Mario, Rose was mortified. We haven't even set a date yet. Then set it now. How about next week? Next week. Robert blinked. There's not enough time. Sure there is. Mrs. Carmen makes cakes, the priest comes on Thursday. I'll lend you the hall above the store. Done wedding. The old man was beaming. The whole village will want to come. We haven't had a party here in years. Rose looked at Robert, who looked back at her. They both burst into laughter. All right, Rose agreed. Next week? Really? Robert asked. Why wait? She replied. Why wait indeed? The week was a blur. The entire village mobilized. Mrs. Carmen made a 3-tiered cake. Mr. Mario decorated the hall with flowers from Rose's garden. Dr. Henry found a borrowed suit for Robert. The women of the village sewed a simple but beautiful dress for Rose. Mary couldn't stop asking if she would be the flower girl. Peter learned to say Dada, looking at Robert, which made Rose cry with emotion. On Thursday, under a perfect blue sky, with half the village watching Robert and Rose got married. It wasn't elegant. The cake melted a little in the heat. The priest got Robert's name wrong twice. Peter cried in the middle of the vows. Mary dropped the flowers. It was perfect. 6 months later, Robert woke to the smell of coffee and pancakes. He went down to the kitchen and found Rose humming as she cooked. Peter was in his high chair eating mashed banana Mary drawing at the table. Good morning, family. He kissed Rose, ruffled Mary's hair, and made a face at Peter. A letter came for you. Rose pointed to the lawyer's envelope on the table. Robert opened it. It was the finalization of the company's sale. The money had been transferred. He was officially free. So, Rose asked, how does it feel? Rich and unemployed? She laughed. You're not unemployed. You're managing the garden, fixing up the house, taking care of the kids, and loving every second of it. He pulled her into a hug. Thank you. For what? For invading my house, my life, my heart. It was an accident. I think it was on purpose. Maybe, she smiled. Any regrets? None, except that you didn't invade sooner. They kissed, interrupted by Mary. Again, you guys are gross. Gross is your sister's room, Robert teased. I don't have a sister. Not yet. Rose placed a hand on her belly, which was just beginning to show. But in 7 months, Robert stared at her, his mouth open. You're pregnant. Surprise. He lifted her up and spun her around, laughing, crying, feeling his heart, that heart that had almost stopped beating strong and alive in his chest. I love you, he said. I love you so much. I love you too. And there in that simple kitchen with coffee burning on the stove, a child crying, a cat stealing food from the table, and the sun streaming through the window, Robert realized he had found something no amount of money could ever buy. He had found home, and home had found him. Your interactions are very important to us. Leave your name in the comments, and we can include you in one of our stories with a shout-out made just